I made an animation in my previous video. It happens between frame 1 and frame 12. I can see more frames in my time slider, and at the moment I don't necessarily need them. The range slider is below the time slider, and I can use it to cut off the number of frames that I'm looking at. I can use this slider bar. That will allow me to scale the time slider. I can also use these data entry boxes. On this side, this first data entry box refers to the first frame available in this animation. The second data entry box refers to the first frame in the time slider, so if I set this to 5, my time slider would start with frame 5. On this side, this first data entry box refers to the last frame visible in the time slider, so if I set this to 24, now I will only see frames 1 through 24. I don't need 200 frames for this demonstration, so perhaps I will set this to 48, and now this sequence only goes from frame 1 to frame 48. That's a little bit more manageable for me. Next to that, I have a whole bunch of information, some of which we'll get to as we get more advanced. Over here, it looks like my playback is set to 24 frames per second. That may or may not be true depending on the settings in my preferences window, which I will get back to in a moment. This button indicates that my animation will play in a continuous loop when I hit the play button. You can also play one time. You can toggle. I recommend the continuous loop. This button here calls for cached playback, and depending on your computer, this may or may not be problematic. This is a new feature that Maya added recently, and it doesn't always work that well. I'm going to turn it off for now, and that means that Maya will play seamlessly without having to cache any data. This is a volume option. It's new for Maya 2020, and that will allow me to play audio through the timeline. After this, I've got the auto keyframe toggle, and we will come back to this in just a moment. I'm going to start by going to the animation preferences, which is the little man running away from the gear wheel. When I click on the little person running away from the gear wheel, what that does is it opens up my Settings and Preferences window preset to the Time Slider category. In the Time Slider category, I can see that my playback speed is set to 24 frames per second times 1. Yours may be set to play every frame, as that is a default for Maya. You want to be sure that you are also playing back at 24 frames per second. There are other options in here. Most of them we don't have to worry about. If any of you come from the video editing world and prefer to see timecode instead of frames, you can use timecode. I'm going to keep this set to frames. If the time slider is too small for you, you can also change the tick size and the regular display size. The only thing I want to be sure is that I'm playing back at 24 frames per second, and then I can say save. Above these icons, I've got my playback controls. This one will play forwards. This one will play backwards. This will step to my previous keyframe, to my previous frame, or to the beginning, to my next keyframe, my next frame, or the end. The last thing I'll mention here is the Auto Keyframe button. The Auto Keyframe button can be really useful, but you have to be aware of what it does. When it's red, like this, what the Auto Keyframe button will do is it will automatically set a new key on any channel that you already have keyed. The only channel that I have keyed right now is Translate Y. So if I have this button turned on, I'll just move this torus back down a little bit, and now I get a new keyframe at frame 24. I didn't have to right-click on Translate Y and go to Key Selected again. So that saved me a little bit of time. You'll note that if I move Translate X or Translate Z, or if I rotate, I will not get new keyframe data. That's because I did not have a keyframe manually set before I started. So now all I'm doing is translating Y, but from a different position. If, however, I go back to frame 1 and I right-click on Rotate Z, key selected, now when I come to frame 24 and I rotate Z, let's make sure I'm rotating Z, good. Now Auto Keyframe will start setting those Rotate Z keyframes for me. So with Auto Keyframe, you have to manually set the first key, and then Auto Keyframe will set the rest for you. Some animators really hate this because they feel that it takes some control out of their hands. Other animators really like it because it does save time. You will get to decide which workflow you like best for yourself, and then use that one.